Either you have comms or you don't. Welcome to the AmRRON Communications video channel. AmRRON is a patriot-oriented nationwide radio communications network for disasters and civil defense. I've recently had a new wave of correspondence with folks at various stages of their journey getting their emergency communications capabilities up to speed. And some of them are brand new on their journey. Others, however, have been working on communications for months or years and still don't have adequate comms capabilities. What they do have, and they have in abundance, is excuses. In this video, I'm going to take some of the most common excuses away and provide some resources to help get you up to speed on staying informed in a grid-down emergency situation. It doesn't matter what you plan to do or intend to do or hope to do or what you think you're going to do. What matters is what you do. The truth is, if the grid suddenly went down tomorrow, what you have today is what you'll have tomorrow and forever after that. AmRRON already passes intelligence reports and radio traffic on a regular basis across the country, throughout regions, and on local nets, involving hundreds of radio operators. That information is already there, swirling over your head on a daily basis. All you have to do is grab it. And you don't have to be a member of AmRRON. You don't need to have a ham license to receive ham radio transmissions. You don't have to invest hundreds or thousands of dollars. Here, we're not talking about your VHF, UHF walkie-talkie. That falls under the tactical local communications category, and most folks have that down. We're talking about news and information that you'd be cut off from if the grid suddenly went down. We take the internet and our cell phones for granted, but what if that were cut off for an indefinite period of time? Could you get news and information from the next town, the next county, the next state, or from 2 states away? The first excuse: in an emergency, I don't care what's going on outside my area. Well, some might argue that their local radio communications is all they care about and don't have an interest in what's happening somewhere else or in a different part of the country. Why do you watch Fox News or follow Liberty Daily or other news feeds of what's happening across the country or around the world? Because you want to have situational awareness. This helps you stay informed. That desire for information would be magnified in a true grid-down emergency situation. Let's take a look at some real-world examples dispelling the myth that what's happening outside your area doesn't matter. The first example is the collapse of Venezuela. In a SHTF Lessons from Venezuela article posted on Survival Blog in 2014, it states, "Lack of communications causes panic and rumors. As the communications are shut down, we are seeing that a sense of panic is growing. No one knows if other states have surrendered, and they are the last to stand at the Alamo. They don't know if the government is losing either. That is why it is growing difficult to differentiate between rumors and fact. Rumors and reports are that the government is now massacring prisoners by the dozens, if not hundreds, and burning the bodies. Some report that the jets are bombing cities. Information is as vital at this point as food and water. Calm leadership is needed to keep everyone from panicking or shutting down. It would have been wonderful if they had prepared with a radio network that was interstate rather than just within small, cloistered groups. Those of you with ham equipment will be hailed as heroes should this situation come to a theater near you." And I would add that ham radio signals can be received without a license or expensive ham radio equipment. Transmitting is where more specialized equipment and skills are required. Now let's take a look at Kazakhstan in January 2022, when the country, and specifically the capital Almaty, descended into chaos, riots, and looting, supposedly over rising fuel prices. Commercial power, cell phones, internet, and supply lines were cut off. The headlines covering the crisis read, "Amid unrest, Kazakhs seek bread and information," and there was neither to be had. What most every citizen in Kazakhstan didn't know was that convoys and flights of Russian troops were on the way to help quell the uprising and to supposedly restore order. What if there were foreign troops 150 miles away headed in your direction? Our best guess is this is something you'd care about knowing. The last example is a chemical plant explosion in Spain in 2015 with a toxic fallout cloud. If you needed to travel from point A to point B and this event occurred on your planned route, wouldn't you want to have that situational awareness so you could alter your route or avoid the affected area as opposed to blindly driving into it? So what are some of the other common excuses? I'm studying for my license and then I'm going to jump in and get on the air. You don't have to be licensed to receive ham radio communications. You only need to be licensed to transmit. While you're studying for your license, if something happens tomorrow or next week, you'll be right where you are now in an information blackout. If you're really studying for your ham license, get your transceiver now. If you're not in a position to get your ham radio gear, then at least become capable of receiving with a shortwave radio or an SDR receiver. We see folks who have no comms whatsoever who've been studying for their licenses for a year or 2 years or 3 years. Third excuse, digital stuff just seems overly complicated. I'm good with just voice communications. Well, fortunately, it's not that complicated, and there are a ton of resources available today, unlike 12 years ago when we began using digital modes. It's like driving a stick shift. At first, it seems confusing and cumbersome, but after you become proficient, it's as easy as anything else that you put into practice on a regular basis. With just a bit of perseverance, you'll be doing it without even thinking about it. And unfortunately, voice communications over HF has limitations. Oftentimes the band conditions are so poor, it's a struggle just to have someone check into a net with their call sign, much less share any other information. Stand 50 feet from someone with a diesel truck parked between you and the other person with the engine running on the truck. Then read an article from the newspaper in a manner that he can write down everything you're saying so he can refer to it later and read it to others. Conversely, pull out your cell phone and copy and paste the article into a text and send it to him. You see the difference? Digital modes simply get through when voice won't. Of course, not as fast as sending a text, but it gets through when nothing else will. And excuse number 4, I don't know anything about comms and I don't even know where to begin. Well, we're going to help you with that right now. Let's talk about how you can get your comms up to receive the message traffic, news, intelligence, and reports that will be flying across the airwaves in a grid-down disaster. In fact, even during normal grid-up times, this kind of practice and training traffic is already being sent on a daily basis. AmRRON releases a weekly AmRRON intelligence brief every Monday, which is then relayed throughout the week over regional and local nets taking place across the country, as well as during the daytime on what is called the Persistent Presence Net. Radio operators will often request the AIB, and other radio operators respond by sending it to them. The AIB consists of an aggregated report of real-world news which may be of interest to emergency radio operators, and is sent using digital mode software, and stations receiving the AIB can then read it, print it, and then distribute it locally or regionally. So there are numerous regularly scheduled opportunities for you to practice with your equipment and hone your skills, maintain proficiency by receiving AmRRON radio traffic on a regular basis. So let's explain how you, your family, or your group can take advantage of these opportunities so you can stay informed now in a real grid-down emergency. If you don't do it now, you won't in an emergency, no matter how much you'll want to. In this next portion, we'll cover receiving the signals and how to turn these signals into usable information that you can make sense of. The equipment is affordable and the software is free and easy to use. The main emphasis here is for HF, or high frequency receiving. You probably already have local comms covered, but this will allow you to receive radio transmissions coming from over the horizon, also known as beyond line of sight communications. For capturing the signals, I'll cover shortwave radio receivers and SDR receivers. SDR, or Software Defined Radio Receivers, are fun and affordable, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But I strongly recommend, if you have nothing else, at least have a physical shortwave radio. It's portable and useful for other things, such as tuning into local radio stations, listening to shortwave radio broadcasts, and will still function in that capacity without the use of a computer. Additionally, holding the speaker to the microphone of your smart device with a mobile app I'll discuss later allows you to receive even if your laptop becomes unusable for any number of reasons. There are many choices for shortwave radios, so we'll narrow it down to a few models that are popular and widely used by AmRRON operators. And I have these myself, and I'll provide links in the video description below, as well as the posting at AmRRON.com, the posting named with the same title of this video. Whatever shortwave radio you acquire, it must have SSB, that's single sideband, receive capability. In a major emergency, the highest volume of information coming from outside your area will likely be from ham radio operators. In ham radio, on the HF bands, they almost always use lower sideband, or LSB, for voice, or upper sideband, USB, for digital modes. All digital mode traffic is sent using upper sideband. All three of the recommended shortwave radios I'm going to mention are known for their superb receive capabilities, and all three have SSB, or single sideband. The first is the Tecsun PL880. This one has the best fine-tuning and filtering of all three, even though it's the most expensive of all three at approximately $169. It's extremely affordable by ham radio standards. A similar receiver without the fine-tuning capabilities as the PL880 is the PL680 at $139, which also includes the AM airband for tuning into aircraft on AM if that's something that's of interest to you. And finally, the ultra-portable Tecsun PL368 with single sideband. This is a super receiver, especially for the price of $85. And the most appealing thing to me about this radio is that it uses just 0.5 watts, a half a watt. But as they say in the radio world, it's all about the antenna. I've seen $500 ham radios outperform $2,000 radios because the less expensive radio was connected to an efficient antenna compared to the much less efficient antenna that was connected to the more expensive radio. These shortwave radios do come with telescoping antennas, but they also have an 1/8-inch external antenna port. An external wire antenna is a must for best results. This can be any kind of stranded wire, even speaker wire, but get your long wire antenna outside and as high as possible. If you live in an apartment, then hang it out the window. Others who have gone before us and have done the field testing are, for example, Jack VE3EED, who is now a silent key, which means he's passed away. He produced a series of tests and posted his results on hamuniverse.com under an article titled Random Wire Antenna Lengths. These lengths were listed as the best lengths for being resonant or tunable across most all of the ham band frequencies. You can pause the video to write down these antenna lengths. They're listed in feet. Select the longest length which best suits your physical location. The longer of these you can use, and getting your antenna as high into the air as practical for your situation, the better. Next on the receiver list is the SDR, Software Defined Radio Receiver. This is a digital signals processor built inside of a USB dongle that you plug into your laptop. They're super efficient, and the dongle itself is under $35. I recommend either the RTL-SDR receiver or the QUICKSTART receiver. I'll have links available down below. The signals received from these can be decoded using the free software from AirSpy called SDRSharp, and that's available at airspy.com. Just go to airspy.com, and from the downloads page, select Software Defined Radio Package. Instructions for downloading the software, connecting it to your SDR dongle, and setting everything up is available at RTL-SDR.com, and look at their Quick Start guide. That will also be linked. But there's nothing like a video to have someone show you step by step exactly what to do. I recommend the following video, linked below in the description, to the YouTube channel called The Smokin' Ape, and follow the instructions in the video titled Installing RTL-SDR and SDRSharp on Windows 10 Made Easy. Now, once you're able to receive the signals, how can you convert the incoming signal to data that you can read, print, and save? This brings us to the second part of the video, the digital mode software. The very first ham radio software you should download, set up, and use is from the Fast Light Digital Suite known as FLDIGI. It's free. The overwhelming majority of radio traffic in an emergency will be sent as various types of reports using FLDIGI, and the companion programs FLMessage and FLAMP or FLAMP. There's a reason for each, which will be explained in another video, but this combination of software will allow you to receive the majority of all the information being shared across the network. It's available in multiple platforms at w1hkj.com. Download FLDIGI, FLMessage, and FLAMP. Then download the AmRRON custom forms from the AmRRON/AmRRON forms page, or you can click the link on the description. You'll see a link to the instructions for downloading and installing the custom forms, so they'll open up in your FLMessage program. This is what formats the raw data that you'll receive into an easily readable, printable report. Read the instructions for downloading, importing, and installing custom forms. I'll go into more setup details in the next video to get you set up optimally for receiving traffic from AmRRON operators. We also have resources at AmRRON.com, including a posting with several embedded videos for downloading, installing, using FLDIGI, FLMessage, FLAMP at FLDIGI tutorials videos. You will need an audio patch cable with an 1/8" male plug on each end. On one end, plug the cable into the headphone out jack of your shortwave radio. On the other end, you will plug into the microphone in of your laptop. This is what brings the audio signal you're receiving into the FLDIGI software for decoding. Many newer laptops don't have a microphone in jack. If this is the case, then you'll need to purchase a USB audio adapter which has a microphone and headphone jack, and this is the recommended setup for receiving digital mode transmissions. Next, let's talk about FLMessage APK, the Android FLMessage application. Another simple way for you to receive and decode digital mode communications is with the smart device app called FLMSG or Android FLMessage. It's also free. Simply by holding the microphone of your smartphone to the speaker of your shortwave radio, you can receive and decode signals sent using FLDIGI and FLMessage. It can be downloaded at w1hkj.com/files/ANDFLMSG. Once again, a link will be provided below in this video description. The very first thing you should do is download the Quick Start Guide PDF. Take your time and carefully follow the setup instructions. After you download and set up FLMessage, save yourself a lot of headache by reading through the user's manual. At the time of this video, FLMessage is up to version 1.5.0. The custom forms will need to be downloaded so AmRRON traffic you receive will be properly formatted and much easier to save and read. You would follow the same download instructions mentioned earlier in the video, just like you did for your laptop computer. The only difference is that you would connect your phone to your laptop to copy the custom HTML forms to your phone. Paste them in two places in your NBEMS folder by going to your phone's folder directory and paste the forms into NBEM's Display Forms folder and your NBEM's Entry Forms folder. We'll make a video in the future covering step-by-step details on how to set up and use AND-FL message, but you'll find it to be fairly intuitive, especially if you're using to receive and display traffic that you've intercepted from the nets. The user's manual that you download will get you off and running and using the app in minutes. However, we still encourage using the full laptop version of FLDIGI, FLMessage, and FLAMP, as the Android version has some serious limitations. It will not decode compressed FLAMP files being sent. FLAMP will look like several hash lines of gibberish. Uncompressed FLAMP files can be read in raw form when you receive them in AND-FL message, but it's extremely difficult to make practical use of the information in its raw form. So while this is a great digital mode tool, it should be viewed as a backup and for limited use, at least until the developer or someone else makes a FLAMP mobile app available. And finally, where and when to tune in. There are several ways. The best way to ensure you tune in on the right frequency at the right time is to get a copy of the AmRRON Signals Operating Instructions, which covers the schedules for both training and real-world activation schedules. The SOI is available as a digital PDF download for only $8 at the Redoubt Gear store, which is linked below. But don't let not having a copy of the SOI hold you back. The AIB is sent out every Monday on the 20-meter band and the 40-meter band. The posting you see pictured here will also be linked below, which gives the times, modes, and frequencies. Because the transmission spans multiple time zones and is wide distribution traffic intended for the nationwide network, the times are listed in Zulu time, also known as UTC. There are numerous online resources for converting Zulu time to your local time, and write those times down, keep them with your radio along with the AIB transmission schedule. Set an alarm to remind you of upcoming schedules. These are all great practice opportunities. A white paper is posted at AmRRON.com which lists the times and frequencies and the FLDIGI waterfall location. All frequencies are upper sideband. Additionally, we operate a persistent presence net, which means there's someone on the air pretty much anytime during the daytime. You'll often see stations relaying the AIB to others upon request throughout the day and evening. If you leave your radio on and the software running, you're likely to catch the radio traffic even if you're away from the radio. And finally, our regularly scheduled nets are also opportunities to catch radio traffic being passed along over the nets. Those are listed under the Nets tab on the website. For other postings with setup guidance using digital modes, you can go to the website and simply type digital in the search box, including embedded audio files of practice messages for you to experiment with. We've witnessed folks with zero radio experience follow these steps, and soon after getting their equipment and setting up the software, they were receiving message traffic being sent across the network. Seeing that your station works now and working out any bugs will ensure a high degree of confidence in your overall communications plan. That provides peace of mind, knowing that it works, and that it will work for you in a real-world grid-down situation, but only if you do it now. I'm John Jacob Schmidt from AmRRON. Subscribe and like and share it with others if you found this video helpful. And stay tuned for the next one. Now, get your comms up.